Oh, TikTok Shives. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad you could be here. Happy Friday to all of you. Um, I just saw Dr. Evil Alex, first live stream. Let's go. Welcome. I hope you have a good time. um, so, yeah, Stephen, exactly. If only you knew. If only you knew. Anyway, so as usual, I will be answering questions that were submitted ahead of time by my wonderful Patreon patrons and channel members. So until I get through all of those questions, I will not be paying. Hi, David Colby. So until I get through all of those questions, I will not be paying attention to the live chat. So if anybody has any questions or comments or anything you want me to respond to, or even most especially if you are planning on being generous and tossing a super chat my way, which I am always eager to acknowledge and thank you for, please, if possible, hold on to all of that stuff until I get through the patron and member questions, because at that point I will turn my full attention to the live chat. Oh, and also one thing, just a suggestion, just putting it out there. As always, we'll talk about whatever you all want to talk about, but if anybody had any particular thoughts or feelings or questions that might inspire some non-spoilery conversation about the new Star Trek show, I would be very happy to talk about that among whatever else you wanted to talk about too. So anyway, just priming the pump a little. We can talk about whatever, but any conversation about the new Starfleet Academy show would be very welcome from my end, at least. So let's get started with the patron and member questions. And the first one of those comes from Will. Yeah, me again. When are we getting your rendition of the Maltese Falcon? Gatsby was great. See how clever I am? I could play Fizzbin, but only on Tuesday. Happy to support the channel. Thanks, Steve. Well, thank you for being a supporter, first and foremost. I mean, I do want to do another book reading at some point. I don't know if it's going to be the Maltese Falcon or if it's going to be something else. I would like it. I mean, there aren't that many books, especially public domain books, that I can get away with just reading from cover to cover that are as personally meaningful to me as The Great Gatsby. So I would want to find another text that would be an option that I would be able to, emotionally invest in the same way, maybe not to the same degree as Gatsby, because Gatsby is my favorite book, but in a similar way, so that it would really mean something, and hopefully that would come across in the video. So I don't know what the book is going to be yet, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. It is extra work because I feel like I have to do it in addition to the other videos I normally do, because unfortunately, as you can tell by the Gatsby videos, and this isn't really a complaint on my part because I knew this was going to be the situation going in, but they're not exactly magnets for views. Like, I'm not exactly, making a ton of money on it. And it's a lot of work to do those videos. So, and it's a lot of extra work on top of what I ordinarily do. So I'm going to have to wait until I find a book that I really, really want to do the same way I really, really wanted to do Gatsby. But I would like to do another one at some point. And I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed the Gatsby videos, I should say, and that the other people who have watched them seem to have really enjoyed them too. That means a lot to me because it was definitely a labor of love. Donovan, hey Steve, YouTube buried the link to the last one, so I hope you don't mind if I ask an extra long question this time. You and Jason are a big source of joy for me in these dark times. How are you? Hope you're doing as well as can be. I'm doing fine, and as far as I know, Jason's doing fine. His complaints are not of the dire, catastrophic, potentially mortal variety these days. I think he's doing well. And I'm really, really glad that not just me, but that me and Jason can be a help to you and a distraction or a bit of entertainment or whatever we may be for you. Because Jason is my very best friend, and I always look forward to recording podcasts with him, or even just, talking to him about whatever. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and he brings me a lot of joy. And it's nice that the two of us, when we do things together and, put it out there, that it brings joy to other people too. So thank you very much for saying that. And I'm doing well. And as far as I know, Jason's doing pretty well too, all things considered. Neil Klein, sigh. I asked in the live chat last time about the music you used that sounded like klezmer music because it had this lively clarinet playing. You used it at the end of the video you called what is actually Star Trek's greatest love story. I tried using Shazam to identify it. Don't know what other options I have. That is my question for this time around, Steve. Thank you for not tolerating a jot of the monstrous lies from the administration and for being you. It helps your audience very much. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Um, so that piece of music is I actually use that at the end of all of the sort of what I call the regulation Trek actually videos, the ones that are voted on by the patrons and members. Um, I use that same piece of music at the end of all of those when I'm doing the shout outs to patrons and members and telling everybody what's coming up next, like the little end piece that I do at the end of every one of those videos. And that is a Kevin MacLeod piece, and it's called "The Show Must Be Go." So if you Google if you go to Kevin MacLeod's website, which I think is incompetech.com, if you go there and look for "The Show Must Be Go," you should be able to find it. But yeah, it's Kevin MacLeod is a priceless resource for YouTubers such as myself because he composes and records and distributes royalty-free music through the Creative Commons license that you can use for free. In most cases, in whatever way you choose, as long as you attribute it to Kevin, which I always do in a little lower third, you know, at the end of every video, which I guess you just didn't see because that has the title and everything in it. But yes, it's a piece by Kevin MacLeod called "The Show Must Be Go." I'm glad you enjoy it. I like that one too. It's a jaunty little piece, isn't it? And another question from Neil, because if you are a patron and a member, if you want, you can ask two questions, and Neil has chosen to do that. This is my Patreon submitted question. You often retrieve these gems from older movies and videos to make a point, like 12 Angry Men. I would go as far as to say that you prefer the writing from those masters of the golden age of television to stuff of today. What could modern writers learn from these masters that they've forgotten? Is it the efficiency? What got lost in the intervening decades from your vantage? I'm not talking Drek like the MST3K stuff you and the Stuffed Boys watched. Well, I think this is a little bit unfair. There is a lot of really, really great writing in movies and TV today. I mean, I'm definitely not of the opinion that, well, the writing was just better back then. I don't think that's the case. But you're right. The writing from the golden age of television, the writing from the 1950s and the anthology series like Studio One and Playhouse 90 and those sorts of things where they would present a new original play or sometimes an adaptation of something, but it was always like it was an anthology, it was a new production every week. And those shows produced some of the great TV and film writers, at least American TV and film writers of that generation, and a few of the best directors too. Sidney Lumet started out directing live anthology TV. Steven Spielberg directed some. John Frankenheimer, I think, was a TV director in the 50s. So I mean, but as far as writers, I mean, my God, Rod Serling, Patty Chayefsky, Reginald Rose, who wrote 12 Angry Men, just, I mean, absolute giants who did amazing work. If there was something from their work that I would want to see more modern writers pick up and make a part of their work, I would say the earnestness. There's a lot of sincerity and a lot of earnestness in the writing from the golden age of television. And that doesn't mean that it's all like, dorky and, hokey and, cornball and aw shucks. They often dealt with really serious, dark, adult oriented, themes, but it wasn't cynical. It wasn't ironic. It wasn't a writer trying to show how smart they were or trying to outsmart their audience. It was sincere. And if there was an anger in the work, it was because you knew that writer was genuinely angry about this thing they were writing about. And if there was, a sense of hopelessness or a sense of optimism or whatever it is, like you felt like it was genuine. And a lot of writing for TV and film today, especially for stuff that is pitched at a really wide audience and is clearly hoped that it will be like a big hit, a big commercial success, and will appeal to everybody. A lot of it feels very calculated and very focus grouped and very market oriented and very sort of pieced together in order to appeal to, we need something for this demographic and we need something for this demographic. And again, that's nothing new either. That's been going on for forever as well. But it feels like it's really at, a breaking point now after many, many years of buildup. And, I wish there would be far less of that and far more stories that really seem to come from the genuine mind and heart of the writer. And you do see a lot of stuff like that from the golden age of television. So that if there's anything that I would recommend be, brought forward to today that isn't seen as often, it would be that. But again, I want to stress there is so much brilliant writing on TV and in the movies that is being done right now today. So I don't want to give the impression that, oh, it was just better back then and people don't know how to write anymore. Like that, I do not think that is the case. Luxinda, but also Cindy. It's confusing. Do you enjoy or have you ever enjoyed antique, thrift, flea, treasure, salvage, market browsing? There are quite a few really great such places in Hagerstown. It's a very fun way to wander through a lot of nostalgia. I don't do it regularly and I haven't done it for a while, but yes, at various times in the past, I have. There's the Beaver Creek on Route 40 and then the place that's right next door to it that I can't remember the name of, but like the two antique shops on Route 40 outside Hagerstown, on the way to Frederick. Those places are great. You can go in there and get lost. And I haven't been there for a while, but I have been there many, many times. And yeah, they're always a lot of fun. There used to be a place called Halfway Antiques that is not far from where I live now. And it was there for forever. And it was run by this one guy. And it seemed like every time I went in there, there was more stuff. And eventually it got kind of out of control and it kind of junky. And it almost started to feel like it was like a hoarder situation instead of like a business. But I went there all the time when I was a teenager and into my early 20s. I went there constantly and I loved that place. And I bought so much stuff from that place. I bought records from that place. I'll tell you the most precious thing that I got from Halfway Antiques was Stuffy. That's where I got Stuffy when I was, I don't know what, 10 or 11, something like that. Right on the cusp of being too old for stuffed animals, but that's when I got Stuffy, and he's been my very, very favorite. My non-living best friend. I know Jason's my real best friend, but my cuddly stuffed toy best friend, Stuffy, I got him from Halfway Antiques. So yes, I have enjoyed thrift stores and antique shops frequently in my life. They're wonderful. And here's one from Cindy. Do you have any interesting stories about famous people you've met? Is there a particular favorite for you? For me, getting to make cow noises with Leonard Nimoy is definitely at the top of my list. I absolutely love your channel, and watching any video of yours always leaves me happier. That is so sweet. Thank you very much. I don't have any meeting famous people stories. I don't think I have ever met a genuinely like famous person. I certainly have never, I have no stories of hanging out or having any memorable, experiences with famous people. You're making cow noises with Leonard Nimoy beats me hands down. And that just I both want to know more, but also I don't want to know more. Like I want to just have just that little nugget. Making cow noises with Leonard Nimoy. You know what? Maybe that by itself, like whatever the explanation is behind it, I don't know if it can live up to just that phrase. But no, I've never really felt a strong desire to meet like famous people. Like when I mean, there are obviously artists and, you know, public figures, famous people, actors, writers, directors, athletes, etc., who mean a lot to me and who have been important parts of my life. But I've never like yearned for like actually meeting, because what would we talk about? You know, I just, it's never felt, it's never been a big appeal to me. You know, like if me and Jonathan Frakes met, what would we talk about? I don't know him. Like, and we don't know each other, and we probably don't have that much in common. I mean, what am I going to talk to him about Star Trek like a fucking dork? Am I going to talk to him about North and South like slightly less of a dork, but nonetheless a dorky fanboy like that? I don't want that. I don't want that interaction. And he probably doesn't either, regardless of how polite he might be about it. So no, I unfortunately, for the sake of answering your question, I do not have any such stories. But it sounds like you have a hell of one about making cow noises with Leonard Nimoy. So good for you. Wolfram and Hart, or Wolfram and Har, it says here. Steve, Happy New Year. Right now, my choice of question is simple and relatively silly. You've indicated that Jack, meaning Jack McPherson, one of the cast members of Stuffy and Friends, is an Irish drunken hooligan. I was wondering if there was a real life inspiration like Werner and Hans. The closest I can come up with is Vinnie Jones, who among other things played the Juggernaut, but Vinnie is not Irish. By the way, recently saw your Stuffy Year One compilation you did like a year ago. Well done. Thanks for putting it together. Well, thank you for watching it. I need to do another one of those. Actually, I think I have enough shorts uh, that I have released since then that I could probably do two more omnibus compilations. So I need to get on those. I need to release some more of it, because I don't want to just have the one. I want to do more as I continue to do the shorts. But no, there is no, yes, obviously the real life inspiration, at least in terms of the voice and the general sort of personality for Hans Krieger, is Werner Herzog. There is no single real life inspiration for Jack. Jack, his voice and his personality just kind of blossomed organically. Jack was a gift to me, I think, from my mother for Valentine's Day. She got me like, you know, some chocolates and a little bear for Valentine's Day, and the bear became Jack. And if you notice, Jack under his little denim jacket, his T-shirt has a heart on it because he was a Valentine's bear. And I don't know, for some reason I picked him up, and that voice just came out. That was him. And I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. And I don't think I based him on anyone. He just sort of came to life spontaneously. So yeah, that's the story behind Jack. He wasn't based on Vinnie Jones or anybody else that I am consciously aware of. General Contact Unit Problem Child. Last Q&A, you said you wouldn't just ban Republicans holding office. You'd need a legal reason. I would just ban them. I'd feel justified because I don't view representative democracy as an end. I view it as a means to the end of having a free and fair society. If an unfettered election is going to lead to the destruction of free and fair society, then your democratic system is broken, not something I view as sacrosanct. Letting fascists be elected is sacrificing an end to the means. Thoughts on that? Well, the last part of that is interesting and a little provocative, and something that I think needs to be grappled with. I don't have a quick answer to it. You know, it's something it reminds me of something that Dana and I have talked about, and I know that Dana talks about when she teaches Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. The idea of if the ideal of democracy is to see the will of the people be the bedrock of government, then what do you do if the people decide they want a dictator? And it's kind of a paradox, and like, do you defy the will of the people in order so that there won't be a dictator, but so that there can still be democracy? Or do you allow democracy to basically commit suicide? And you know what I mean? It's a tough question to grapple with. But as to the rest of your question, I don't know, man. It sounds like you're saying that everything would be okay if you were the dictator instead of whoever, you know, that you're basically saying even if you could find no legal reason to ban a particular group of people from holding office, you would just ban them without bothering to find, to construct, to have available, to argue and justify a proper legal recourse. You would just say, nope, those guys are banned because you have decided that it's better if they are banned. And the problem isn't whether or not that's true. I mean, if you're asking me, would America's democracy be better off if the Republican Party as it exists now didn't exist, or that, if the Republicans who are currently holding office no longer held office? Of course it would be a lot better because they're fascists and they're doing some really awful, horrible things, and they want to do even more horrible things. That's not the issue here. The issue is, are you just replacing one problem with another? I mean, if you as the person who would be banning them is coming out and saying, I have no commitment to representative democracy, I have no reason to trust you and give you the power to do something about this. You know, because unless you can convince me that your means to the end of a free and fair society is better than representative democracy. So, but all you're saying is I would ban the Republicans and I would impose my benevolent dictatorship. But I would make things better. See, you see, it's this, even if your intentions are pure, it's a very slippery slope. And I would not trust anyone with power who said something like that, who said, I would just, summarily ban a group of people from participating. And also, by the way, I feel justified in doing this because my concept of what a free and fair society looks like, my personal concept of that, is more important to me, and I have more loyalty to it than the idea of representative democracy. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good. I would not support that. That doesn't make the Republicans and the fascists the good guys at all. But I do not support dealing with it the way you are proposing to deal with it. Isaiah Taylor, hey, Steve, not really a question, but I did want to bring up something from our last Patreon hangout. At the end of the hangout, I asked Edie, one of the guests, about getting a job with my certificate. She was rather adamant that I move out of Tallahassee. I was a bit bothered by that comment because I can't just up and move. You yourself even mentioned Atlanta. I've personally never been to Atlanta, and I don't know anyone up there at all. Sorry for being mad. I just can't move like that. Well, I understand, but I think Edie was just being realistic with you, and I'm not saying that. I mean, look, there are probably jobs in the Tallahassee area that you could get, in videography, filmmaking, video production, editing, whatever. And I mean, there's probably remote work you could get too, depending on what kind of work you're willing to do. Like the internet is a great tool for people working in media now, and you wouldn't always have to be working with local clients. I'm sure you could find work. But if you have your heart set on working in the film industry, like being a member of a crew, eventually working your way up to a point where you might even be able to write or direct your own movie, like, unless you are fortunate enough to hook up with some independent filmmakers in your area who have the resources to do that, and you're able to, be a part of their group and contribute to it, that's probably not going to happen. And it's not, I don't think Edie was trying to, you know, pour cold water on your dreams or anything, but it's just, it's just an unfortunate fact of reality. Atlanta is a busy hub for TV and film production right now. And as far as I know, Tallahassee isn't, you know? So if your dream is to get into that business and not just, have a job where you're working in media, but actually be involved in film or television production in a professional way where you're earning a living and you're on film crews and that kind of thing, it's probably not going to happen in Tallahassee. And, again, I don't blame you for being frustrated or being mad about that. But it is what it is. It's not your fault, but it is what it is. I mean, when Edie said, I think, Atlanta is probably your closest option, but I believe she said what you really need to do is move to either LA or New York. And again, that's not fair, and it's certainly not ideal for your situation, but if that's the life you want, if that's the career you want to pursue, then that's what you're going to have to do. I'm sorry to to put it so bluntly, but that is the situation. So, but anyway, but no, I don't blame you at all for being frustrated. Most people can't. I can't move like that either. Some random geek who is still officially employed. Good job. Actually, bad job, but good job still being employed. It is confirmed I am still employed, but I was written up for being on YouTube last month, typing in your ask away. It is my final written warning. It wasn't a termination because my first infraction fell off. My first infraction was over 6 months ago, so I can't be in the ask away chatting unless I'm on my phone or my manager, supervisor, and my coworker are gone for the day. I still hate that I have to work a job I don't love in order to live. Capitalism must die. Well, don't get fired. That's all I will say. Just watch your ass, do what you need to do, keep your head down, and don't get fired, especially over, I'm grateful for everybody who watches my live streams. I'm grateful for everybody who supports my channel in any way, whether it's financially or just through attention and engagement. I don't want to discourage that, but this shit ain't worth getting fired over. Okay. So just, be careful and use your head. And here's another one from Some Random Geek reminding folks about charitylinks.page. Yes, indeed. Everyone, Joanna Roberts needs $1,500 a month to survive. And that is each and every month. Phoenix needs $3,700 right now to pay off all of their bills, and then $1,000 each month for those same bills. Joey needs about $250 to cover all their expenses. Linaquin and Naz the Neko need about $750 each month for food and bills. I give away 38% of my take-home pay to help my friends, but it isn't enough. Others need to step up, at least until capitalism dies. Then housing, food, and healthcare are free. Charitylinks.page, folks. Charitylinks.page. I will remind you at the end of the show as well. But if you have a few extra bucks lying around and you want to put them to a good cause and help out some of our friends, such as the ones mentioned by Geek here in this question, charitylinks.page. Please help out our friends. Andy Lawler turned 53 on Monday. Happy birthday. And at this point is just staying alive out of pure spite. God damn, I'm only 8 years away from that. So I hope by the time I get to 53, I have more of a reason to live besides pure spite. But anyway, hey, Steve, have we adopted a shorthand title yet for Starfleet Academy? SA won't work in modern internet parlance. No, I suppose not. SFA, despite Starfleet being one word. ACA, might as well piss off the fascists just that much more. Got any suggestions? Thanks and have a great weekend, everybody. Let's see what Memory Alpha does with it. Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, Memory Alpha. What abbreviation does Memory Alpha use for it? Well, it looks like Memory Alpha is using SA. I don't know about that. What does Trek Core do? What is Trek Core's? Well, Trek Core is just calling it Academy. Oh no, they're using SFA. Yes, SFA. Okay, I think SFA is probably better. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too comfortable with SA. Let's go with SFA. I like that one. I like. Good question, by the way. Yeah, let's until I hear different from someone else, let's use the abbreviation SFA for Starfleet Academy. Brian, what's your pitch for a Star Trek episode in any series that shows in universe examples of ICE deportations and makes your political statement on it? You know, with my Starfleet border guard satire video, I kind of did it. I mean, if I were doing if I were writing for an actual Star Trek show and I was doing like a straight story that I wanted to be like the Star Trek version of a Star Trek story that was, um, a comment on ICE deportations, I think it would follow along similar lines to that Starfleet border guard video, obviously without the more comedic elements and without the satirical elements. Um, but it would be some kind of situation where there was a border between Federation territory and some other alien society's territory, and there was a Starfleet or a Federation, um, border control agency, border enforcement agency that was going over the top and being abusive and that needed to be reined in or brought to justice or, stopped in some way. Um, maybe the hero of the show, the captain of the ship of the series, or one of the other regular protagonists, um, could find out about this, would face a moment of decision, a moment of crisis. Do they side with, the Starfleet version of ICE because they are technically on the same side because they're in the same service, or do they do what's right and stand up for the people that are being mistreated and persecuted? And then if they do the right thing and stand up for the people who are being attacked by Starfleet ICE, then what are the consequences of that going forward? Like, it would be that kind of story. But it would be imperative to me, if I were writing it, the analog to ICE would be part of Starfleet, or at least part of the Federation. There would be it would be the Federation doing it, because otherwise it has no teeth. If it's just, the starship visits a strange new world where there's two alien factions, and one of the alien factions is, has an obvious equivalent of ICE that is doing, um, abusive ICE type stuff, but and then it's the pure-hearted and morally superior Starfleet officers who come in and fix everything. Like, that's gutless. For it to really work and for it to really have weight and teeth, I think the ICE analog has to be part of the Federation. It has to be the Federation doing something wrong that needs to be acknowledged and reckoned with in some way. So and again, that's just sitting here off the top of my head. I don't know what the story is, but the general idea would be that. Yeah. Farah Grimm, happy Friday, Steve, from my husband and me. Hope you're staying healthy during this bad flu season. I am, fingers crossed. As we move toward the 60th anniversary of Star Trek, is there anything you're hoping for or excited about? Do you think Star Trek Academy looks like it will be good? I feel burned out when I want to be excited. 5 shows since 2017, a 6th on the way. 4 came and went within 5 years. It feels very when it should feel celebratory for such a cornerstone of American TV and sci-fi as a genre. Well, I mean, I don't want to get into it too much too early, because there are a couple of other questions that reference Starfleet Academy, and I'm hoping some folks in the chat are up for talking about it too when I get through the patron questions. So I don't want to like go through everything right now, but based on the episodes I have seen so far, Starfleet Academy is mostly really good. So I'm excited about that. And the chatter I'm seeing about it online from people who are not the reactionary haters is mostly pretty positive, and that's encouraging. So I mean, I hope that the show continues to be good beyond the episodes that I've seen, and I hope that people watch it and people like it, and that it sends a message to the franchise, to the producers, the studio, whatever, that this kind of Star Trek show is something that people want and something that they can continue to make more of, and that it will be a good investment and will be successful. That's what I'm hopeful about and excited about. Because yeah, it's so far it's a good show, and hopefully I'll talk more about it in a non-spoilery way as the show goes on. As for how everything feeling when it should feel celebratory, I don't think that's entirely Star Trek's fault. I think that's just the oversaturation and overcrowdedness of TV and film in general. You know, because of streaming and because of the massive number of cable channels and the number of movies that get released in theaters and online every year. Like there's just as well as TV shows there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. And it can be a little overwhelming. And even the good stuff can get lost and can feel less special because there's just so much stuff. So I don't think that's entirely a Star Trek thing. But yes, I check out Starfleet Academy if you haven't already when you get the chance, and I hope you will enjoy it. John Burns. So Trump had Maduro removed because there was some election shenanigans in Venezuela. No such shenanigans in Canada or Greenland. So he shouldn't be able to annex either Greenland or Canada. So what's the Democrats' position on all of this? Whatever. Anyway, there's a push to make Greenland a dominion like Canada in 1867. Don't know if it will go anywhere. What's your plans this weekend? Just all over the place. Yeah, you're right because Trump would never move against Canada or Greenland unless he had a legitimate or at least a legitimate sounding basis for it, right? You're perfectly safe. What's the Democrats' position on all of this? They're against it. As to how much they're willing to try and do to stop it, we shall see. But they are against it. And plans for this weekend, I'm going to shoot some YouTube videos. And then after that, I'm going to edit some YouTube videos. So my usual weekend plans. Agent Meister, the El Rata Alada. Oh, I love that Batman reference, baby. Peldor Joy, Steve, you sang the praises of the 2022 Batman movie when it first came out. I love that film, and there's not a frame of it I would change. But I think Dano's portrayal of the Riddler is similar to Heath Ledger's Joker. Paul Dano does a fine job, and granted, the two characters have different motivations, but do you think that Dano borrowed a lot from Ledger? This movie also features the 4 villains that were in the 1966 outing. Why did they remake it if they weren't going to change anything? I love that. Because it's basically a shot for shot remake, isn't it? Of Batman 1966. That's great. Yeah, and someone pointed that out to me. I didn't notice that as I watched it, but somebody pointed out to me that the Adam West, Burt Ward 1966 Batman movie and the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, they all have Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, and Joker in them. Although Joker's just barely in it, but technically he's in it. So yeah, and I also love that movie, as you know. I don't know. I don't really see a lot of Heath Ledger's Joker in Paul Dano's Riddler. There are similarities, but and I mean they're both doing a lot. Like as actors, they're neither of them is a terribly subtle performance, and they're doing a lot of acting, like capital A acting, but they both get away with it. Like it works. It's absolutely the right performance for each movie. But when I was watching I've watched that movie a bunch of times now. I never really think Heath Ledger's Joker when I see Paul Dano's performance. Like I said, there are similarities, and you say they have different motivations, but there are crossovers there too. And there are certain crossovers in terms of their methods, the way they both use video recordings or video messages to kind of taunt the police or to announce their crimes. Like there's stuff like that. But I don't really see it. I don't really see a lot of crossover between Paul Dano's Riddler and Heath Ledger's Joker. Joe King, hey Steve, long time since I've asked a question, but I appreciate your time and only want to pepper you with original questions or points of view. To that end, how long before the Ellisons turn Star Trek full fascist? Oh, nice and a nice optimistic question. I think it's going to be a test of how poor the media literacy of right-wing dipshits is, because one of the weapons that we have on our side and have always had on our side, and that we sometimes underestimate the importance of, is how fucking dumb and oblivious these people are. I think it is entirely possible for Star Trek to continue to be progressive and in favor of equality and inclusion and diversity, but to do it in such a way that it flies under the radar of people like David Ellison. Because from what I have heard and from what I've read that people have said about him, and again, doesn't surprise me given the circles that he moves in, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And his taste in movies and TV shows is not terribly sophisticated, and his ability to sort of read and interpret and digest TV shows and movies and art is not super sophisticated. So I don't think it would be all that difficult to kind of show him a Star Trek show that would not be offensive to his dog shit politics, but would still be Star Trek to people who pay attention and who are perceptive enough to be able to, see what it's saying. So that is kind of what I'm hoping, but I don't know. I don't know. I will say if they do want to make Star Trek into that sort of thing, they're basically going to have to fire almost everybody who works there now, because the current crew that are making Star Trek, and the crews, I should say, because it's not all the same people doing all the shows, but they're all under the same umbrella. They all seem to understand the assignment. Now, there have been times, for instance, this most recent season of Strange New Worlds, where they were maybe too timid about their political messaging for my taste. I wish that season 3 of Strange New Worlds, I wish that it had been different in a lot of ways, but one of the ways I wish it had been different is that I wish it had had a lot more to say that was relevant to the current political moment. The episodes of Starfleet Academy that have been released, the 2 episodes they've released so far, have already had way more relevant social and political commentary in them than the entire 3rd season of Strange New Worlds has. So I'm not like, the people that are doing the shows now know what they're doing and understand what Star Trek is supposed to be. And whether or not they produce good shows is a separate question, but as to what the shows are trying to say and where their hearts and their heads are at politically and socially, so far, that is okay. That is safe. And hopefully it will stay that way for a while. But, we'll see. Everything else is going to shit, so we'll see. Endar, I don't know why I committed to talking this way. New members log supplemental. Having learned that the Ensign does not enjoy what-if questions, I plan to ask where I would be able to pose such questions to the members that would enjoy them. I greatly enjoy hearing the opinions of others, the more the merrier. As an aide, the Ensign has queried on why he wasn't referred to as Captain or Admiral. I agree and plan to call him Captain while nudging others to do the same, albeit in a jesterly mocking tone. I could go for that. As for where to pose questions to the members that would enjoy it, I guess other than, things like this, where it's like a live stream or where I post something and people can leave comments on stuff, like there isn't really, I don't have like a message board. I don't have a Discord. I don't have anything like that. Mostly because I don't really have the time or the inclination to manage something like that. And I don't feel like, keeping I would want to keep a close enough eye on it to make sure that it didn't get, bombarded by trolls and that kind of shit. And I don't have the extra energy to do that. So other than, just like commenting on stuff when I post something on Patreon or on YouTube or whatever, or taking part in the comments and the chat in a live stream like this, other than that, there's really no like designated place where people who are all viewers of mine can get together on their own and talk about stuff. So unfortunately, I have nothing to offer you in that way. But I do really, really appreciate the willingness to sarcastically refer to me as Captain or Admiral. That really means a lot. Wolfram Hart. Hi, Steve. Happy New Year. I know. Wait a minute. This is the same one. This is the same one. I guess you submitted it twice, and this is the more recent one. You also say on a semi-related note about Trump going after Scotland next. More simply, it has one of the richest oil reserves in the world, and then knock down those windmills that are killing all the birds, which Trump cares so much about. Yeah, yeah. And also, doesn't he have supposedly some Scottish ancestry? So if I were Scotland and Scott, I mean, I have Scottish ancestry too, so I would very much like him to leave Scotland the hell alone. Sorry about. I must have missed your more recent version of the question there. I already answered the previous version. The grumpy monkey who will take a bad day in Greenland over a good day in the U.S. Your video about Renee Good was very poignant, but may I ask what the Democrats have been doing since your country became a bad joke? Living in Europe as I am, I'm sure there are nuances of Democratic opposition to the regime that I'm missing, but MTG's recent dissent against the shit stain in chief has gotten the most headlines here. And isn't it ironic that Trump is encouraging protests in Iran while at the same time standing over the execution of one of his own citizens by a fucking thug? Ironic, but also typical. I mean, I think I said in that Renee Good video, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. I mean, he does whatever he thinks he should be doing to help his position. Look, the Democrats, I wish the Democrats were being a lot more, and as a whole, as a party, I wish they were being a lot more aggressive, a lot more vocal, doing a lot more to grab attention and control the narrative than they are. But right now, that's about the only thing that they can do, and at the federal level, because they are out of power legislatively. Hopefully, that will change this year with the midterms, assuming we have those. But until such a thing happens where they have more legislative power, there's really nothing the Democrats can do other than use the bully pulpit. And there are certain maneuvers they can do to slow things down and to block certain things, but their powers are very limited. So I don't necessarily blame them for not doing more, but I do blame a lot of them for still being timid and for still seeming reluctant to call this what it is. Now, again, some Democrats don't have any of those problems. Some Democrats have been very outspoken and very forceful and have called what Trump is doing exactly what it is and have not shied away from it and have not minced words and have not, tried to express themselves in a way that avoids upsetting Republicans and all the bullshit, moderate stuff that the Democratic Party has been doing for years and that I wish they would just stop. But there is still some of that, and I just have absolutely no patience for that. They need to be telling the American people that they recognize what is going on, that they see that it is wrong, and they see how urgent the problems are. And they need to be saying, if you elect us to a majority in the House and the Senate, if you give us the political power to do something about this, we will do something about it. And as soon as we have the constitutional ability to do so, we will hold the people who are doing this responsible. Because what they are doing is wrong, what they are doing is illegal, what they are doing is corrupt, and we will not let it stand. And if you are on our side, American people, if you back us up and you trust us to back you up, we are going to do something about this. And stop treating it like it's just a normal election or like Donald Trump is just a normal Republican president who has gone a little too far. Like, that's not the situation. And I wish more Democrats would say that instead of like fucking Hakeem Jeffries was tweeting the other day about fucking like the price of groceries and shit. He's still trying to talk about kitchen table issues when ICE agents are swarming neighborhoods and dragging people out of fucking schools and shooting people. And Trump is threatening he's already, conducted a military operation to seize control of Venezuela. He's talking about doing the same thing to Greenland, which would be an attack against NATO. And there are prominent Democratic Party leaders that are like, President Trump has failed to lower costs and he's failed to curb inflation. Yeah, we know, but that's pretty far down on the list at this point, you know? Like, what the fuck? So I would like some more sense that the Democratic leaders that we do have know what fucking game they're in the middle of. That's what I would say. Lynn Kibble Mom, hi Steve, hope you are doing well. Recently you mentioned a possible road trip to California in your future. Are you familiar with Roadside America? I once used it to plan a cross-country trip to maximize quirky sights. If you like outsider art and whimsical creations, you would like this. Check it out. I will make a note of that. Thank you. I don't think I have. I haven't heard of that. But I will check that out if I get to the point where I'm actually planning my trip. I will make use of that. That sounds like a lot of fun. If I'm going to take a long ass drive across the country, I might as well make it count for something other than just stand on the interstate the entire time. Thank you for that. Cast Iron Chaos. It's not much, but I'll be boycotting the innumerable obnoxious USA 250th anniversary celebrations this year because this is not the USA. We're now a country with stormtroopers seizing people in the streets if they're not white, whose rulers terrorize and hurt citizens and attack our former allies, and where they break the law every day to seize power and wealth for themselves. This is not the USA, but rather the banana republic of Trumpistan. The USA never made it past birthday number 248. Well, I agree, and hopefully eventually, we can restart the numbering. Like a comic book that goes on hiatus and then it comes back a few years later, but they pick the numbering up. Maybe we can do something like that. But yes, I agree with you, and I'm certainly not going to be celebrating America's birthday this year either. Joe McClory, I think of the phrase, every accusation is a confession, in light of what seems like a complete lack of empathy from conservatives. And it makes me wonder if it is not that they lack empathy, but their empathy is different. Instead of putting themselves in the shoes of others, they look at the actions of others and decide what the motivation and decide the motivations are the ones they would have. Why change gender to sneak into women's spaces? Why would people support immigration? As a path to political power. Thoughts? No, I think you're onto something. I agree. I do think there's a lot of, everything, it's all projection. You're right. The phrase "every accusation is a confession," I think is applicable here for sure. All they seem to be able to do is project, and yes, they assume if a person from a racial minority gets a high-paying job or a prominent position or is successful in some field, they assume it's because they benefited from some unfair advantage given to them by like an affirmative action program or something. Or if they see people of color in a situation where it's people of color and white people, they assume that the people of color are there just as like tokenism, because that's what they think. They can't imagine another reason why a black person would be there except as shallow tokenism, to prove how not racist the white people are. They can't imagine that person might actually deserve to be there. And I think it's same with what you're saying. People see a trans person, and first they don't understand what a trans person actually is, so they think, oh, it's a man pretending to be a woman or whatever. And yeah, they think, well, they're a pervert trying to sneak into the girls' locker room. It reminds me of like the people, I think I mentioned this in my recent Superman video, people who question why Superman would use his powers to do good things. And they're kind of telling on themselves when they say that. If I had superpowers, I'd rob banks. And I'd use my X-ray vision to see through women's clothes and check them all out naked. Like, well, that's what you would do. You just told us all who you are. Like, not everybody's like you. Some people do actually have the desire to help people. So yeah, but I think you're onto something. I think you're right on. Absolutely. M.W. Ridra, when he finally shuffles off his mortal coil, I understand that it won't by itself fix this train wreck, but my question for that next Ask Away will be just 500 characters of me laughing. And I hope you can heartily join in. Anyway, what percent of his obsession with conquering fucking Greenland do you think comes from the fact that he saw it on a Mercator projection map and he thinks that Greenland is actually continent sized? I would say probably 95%. Yeah. I mentioned earlier how dumb they are. I mean, that goes quadruple for Trump. He is such a fucking dipshit. He is such an ignorant boob. I am positive that he has looked at Mercator projection maps that distort the size of continents the further you get away from the equator. And he thinks that Greenland is like as big as North America. Yes, because he's that much of a fucking doofus. And I do think that probably has something to do with it. You know, that and his childish obsession with the biggest, the best, the greatest, it's the most amazing island anybody's ever seen, and it's going to be ours. Like, yeah, absolutely. Greg, the not great but occasionally passable Gildersleeve. Steve, you said in a previous video that you have not had a writing job. I was wondering about your background in acting, voice acting, and singing. You do all very well. Have you worked as an actor or singer or volunteered in something such as community theater? What is your training in these areas? Since Stuffy is a saint, your word, do you think he would start his own religion? If so, how could I join? Okay, Stuffy would never start his own religion because A, Stuffy, like me, is an atheist. And B, anyone who was truly a saint, that is a truly admirable person, would not want to start their own religion. That would, if someone ever started their own religion, that would be your clue that they're not a saint, that they are not worthy of the admiration that you have given them. I have worked a little bit as an actor with a local independent film company, the kind of organization I was telling Isaiah earlier that maybe he should look into trying to hook up with. It wouldn't be, I mean, it wouldn't be a good career move, but it would just be a way to do the kind of work that you want to do. I acted in a few projects for them, along with, you know, doing some writing and some other stuff with the company. But other than that, really, no, I haven't done anything. I've never, I took I took theater classes in college. But other than that, no, I'm not a trained actor. I'm not an experienced actor for anyone but myself and my own projects. I've never done like professional acting or professional voice acting, and certainly not singing. But thank you for at least thinking I'm good enough to bother asking the question. But no, none of that. David Colby once shot a man just to watch him die. But where? What town in Nevada in which did you do this? Steve, you scabrous wretch, have you seen the new Fallout TV show? It's good. If the answer is a boring and prosaic no, then answer this question. What would your punishment be for the next person to ask you what would your dream crew be? Slow acid bath, eaten alive by roaches, the old hot bucket and rat trick. I have not seen Fallout, so there's my prosaic answer. What would my punishment be for the next person to ask me what would my dream Star Trek crew be? You know, I like the acid bath. You know what I like about it? It's clean. When it's over, there's no mess. And I dig that. So I'll go with acid bath. JDC, hey Steve, hope you're doing well. Sorry I missed the last Ask Away. I was in the hospital. More ridiculous cancer drama. Long story short, I almost bled to death from a biopsy. Jesus Christ, man. As a bonus, the biopsy confirmed the cancer is not just in my prostate, but also my bladder, so both have to go. So that's my life for a while. I've been distracting myself with Netflix British cop show Department Q and a comedian sent my way by the YouTube algorithm Gianmarco Ceresi. Familiar with either? Cheers, all. I've heard of Department Q, never watched it. I don't think I'm familiar with Gianmarco Ceresi. I don't think so. So no, I have no thoughts to offer on either one of those. But God, best wishes, my friend. That's terrible. But hope it sounds like there's a plan in place. It sounds like you're being taken care of. It's terrible news, but I mean, I hope that you come out on the other side of this, doing okay. And shit, that's just awful. But um, it sounds like you know, you're dealing with it as best as you can. So I hope that continues to be the case. And please do keep us updated. And please do continue to enjoy Department Q and the comedy stylings of Gianmarco Cerisi. None your business. Once again, I know exactly who it is. Trump can place more troops on Greenland. Hell, he can build a port, but he can't steal stuff. On the other hand, he can get oil from Venezuela and sell it under the table to Russia. From what I've heard, the kind of oil that Venezuela produces can change the mix and prevent sanctioned oil, I think is what you meant to say, from being confined. So if Russia has oil from sanctioned states, they can't sell it very easily. I think Trump having this oil will help him negotiate with Putin over Ukraine. So peace for Trump. Trump's not interested in peace. Trump's interested in whatever makes Trump look good. So, I mean, if Trump thinks, and also Trump does not care at all about the terms under which the war in Ukraine is settled. Trump just wants it settled so he can take credit for it. He doesn't care if Ukraine is forced to completely cede all of its territory to Russia. He doesn't care if Ukraine becomes a part of Russia. He doesn't care, as long as it's over and he can take credit for it. He doesn't care about peace, and he certainly doesn't care about the people of Ukraine, and he doesn't care about the people of Russia either. He cares about whatever he can take credit for. And so is anything else that you're saying beyond the realm of imagination? No. Although I will point out, you say he can't steal stuff. Well, I mean, legally speaking, nobody can steal stuff. That's what makes it stealing. It hasn't stopped Trump to this point. Stephen G. Clenard. Hey, Steve, do you like it when members ask didactic questions in order to prompt you to address an important topic when we already know what your answer will be? God, I hate that. I hate it when people do that. I hate that. Stephen G. Clenard, double posting like the proverbial mofo. Hey, Steve, the midterms are many months away, but is it too late to support more progressive challengers in the upcoming primaries if you are not satisfied with your Democratic congressperson? Or is it more effective to just bitch about the party? Great question. I love this question. Thank you for asking. No, of course it is not too late. And in fact, that is exactly what you should be doing. If you are unhappy with your current member of Congress, and there is a more progressive alternative who is running in the primaries, you should absolutely be supporting that person. You should be doing that every time. That's what the primaries are for. You vote for, in the primary, you vote for who you think should win, for who you think would be the best representative for you. You don't vote based on, who is the best candidate, who has the best shot, blah, blah, blah. You vote for who do you think is the best person and who best represents your values and would be best for your district and your country if they were elected. And then in the primary or in the general, whether or not that person gets the nomination, you vote for whoever the fucking Democratic nominee is. Because whoever they are, they're going to be better than the Republican. So that's the way that's the people, and both steps are very important. In the primary, you vote for the most progressive candidate running. Then in the general, you vote for whoever the fucking nominee is. And if the nominee isn't the person you supported in the primary, then you swallow your fucking pride because it's not about you. And you vote for the goddamn Democratic candidate. But no, it's certainly not too late. And once again, thank you very much for that excellent question. Matthias, hi, Steve. Would you agree with me that sadly the existence of NATO is an indication that the world hasn't learned one of the lessons of World War I and World War II, where the formation of blocks of countries committed to defending each other militarily inevitably leads to country after country being dragged into a world war? Russia is hardly blame-free, but you can almost understand why Russia has spent the 80 years since the end of World War II desperately seeking to buffer its main territory for invasion. I don't know about this. I mean, I'm certainly not going to try to argue that NATO is like, the pure white good guys. But remember that when NATO was formed, the Soviet Union was still very much a going concern. And the idea of NATO was a mutual defense pact against the Soviet Union. And, even though the world has not exactly been peaceful in the decades since World War II, there has not been another global conflict anywhere near comparable to World War II or World War I for that matter. So I don't know if we can blame NATO, for making the world a more warlike place when the world has been a less warlike place, at least on a global, in terms of like a global, sustained conflict since World War II. I mean, again, I'm not saying NATO is perfect. I'm not saying NATO doesn't deserve to be critiqued, but no, I don't agree with your premise here. And I certainly don't think the existence of NATO justifies anything that Russia has been doing for the past 80 years, or certainly for the past few years. I don't think I don't think that is an excuse. It may be a reason, certainly from Vladimir Putin's perspective, but I don't think that's an excuse. And yeah, I absolutely can blame them. Yeah, you say, I can understand, but it doesn't make that, it doesn't justify it. Kara the Tolkien Nerd. Hi, Steve. Just a nice, easiest question with all the chaos rampant around us at present. Which is your favorite Star Trek Court episode? I have not seen the Strange New Worlds ep, so cannot comment, but my top 3 faves are 1, Chain of Command, Part 2, 2, The Drumhead, and 3, The Measure of a Man. Thoughts, Kara? I think Measure of a Man is probably my favorite of the courtroom episodes. I don't really consider. I mean, you sent me another sort of follow up question that I didn't include here because it wasn't really a question. I don't really consider Chain of Command to be a courtroom episode. If you do, that's fine. But of the courtroom episodes, I think Drumhead is great, and Drumhead is unfortunately incredibly relevant, and probably always will be. Sad to say. It's the more sort of socially and politically pertinent episode, and it's a great episode. But I think Measure of a Man is my favorite Star Trek courtroom episode. Yeah, I think that's the best. And that is the one that is called most immediately to mind by the also excellent courtroom episode from season 2 of Strange New Worlds. There's a lot of, resonance between that one and Chain of Command, and Measure of a Man, excuse me. Simon Moody. So 2026 was better than 2025 for all of a day and a half. Hope everyone enjoyed the break. And now we have Piggy threatening sanctions on countries that disagree with the idea of the U.S. attacking NATO. So trying to find something less depressing to think about, Steve, prior to all this, what did you actually think that humanity could come together enough to result in something like a healthy, unified planet? Or are we mentally never going to grow up that much? I think it's a matter of time scales, and it's a matter of if we fuck ourselves up too bad before it happens. I still believe that there is the potential for that kind of peaceful, united world. I think we have it in us. I think it is possible at some point in the future. The question that worries me is whether or not things will get too bad for that to happen before it happens. It's not a lack of potential. I still believe, even with everything going on in my country today, I still believe that humanity could put all of this behind ourselves and come together and have a much more peaceful, prosperous planet for everybody. But will we in time, I guess is the really ominous way to put that. And I don't know. May the this is the so say we may the this is the so say we all and prosper way be with you. Thank you. Thank you, Air One Fire. Hi, Stephen. Am I in trouble? You're calling me Steven. Did I do something bad? I was boycotting CBS, but thought I'd like to watch a Star Trek show as it comes out as a sort of social experience with your community in the Star Trek Discord. I only ever watch things long after release. I'll borrow it from a friend. Good for you. And I'm a sucker for Robert Picardo. I hate that marketing worked on me. What do you think? Is Jason still boycotting? Will you publish reviews? I wanted to ask about vegetarianism and other woke lifestyles, but ran out of characters. Best wishes. Well, maybe next time. Um, I don't know if Jason is watching it or not. I very strongly recommended it to him the last time we spoke. I highly recommended that he watch it. I don't know if he's watching it or not. Um, I am not going to do episode reviews. I'm going to do what I have done with the last several new seasons of Star Trek, which is I will wait until the entire season is out and I have watched all of the episodes, and then I will do one video reviewing the entire season. But no, I'm not going to do episode by episode reviews. And Jason and I do not plan to do episode reviews like we did for Strange New Worlds and Picard in the past. But I am definitely planning to review it when the whole thing is out. And like I said earlier, and hopefully we'll talk more about at some point before the stream is over, what I've seen so far, I mostly really like. I'm very happy with it on the whole so far. Tofu Dunk, responding to does Star Trek actually have a Christmas episode? What are your thoughts on the DS9 episode Fascinations being a Christmas episode? Granted, it is a Loaxana episode, but it did introduce the phrase Peldor Joy. We finally get to witness an active holiday on board a ship/station. The celebration is in reverence to a religious prophet, and it has a bonfire, which could be akin to a Yule log. Thoughts? Also, I enjoyed the pilot episode of Star Trek Academy. It gave me Prodigy feels. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I kind of see that. I didn't quite make a Prodigy connection to it. But I mean, that's not a bad thing because I love Prodigy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're making it. You make a good case. You make a good case that you drawing those parallels there. I appreciate that. The the thing that kind of fucks it up for me is the presence of Loaxana Troy. I mean, that's like trying to argue that a holiday story is a good Christmas story, even though instead of Santa Claus, there's like a serial killer. Is it a Christmas movie if like instead of Santa Claus, there's a serial killer? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Loxana doesn't put me in the holiday spirit. But no, but you make a very compelling argument. You make a very compelling argument for all of the non-Loaxana related stuff. Jan, thanks for your excellent videos helping us to stay sane in these horrible times. I am filled with shame for my country. However, Monday is the holiday for Dr. MLK Jr., a day of honor and service, and it is more important now than ever to remember him and his work for human rights, justice, and peace. Not a question, just a hope, and one that I am happy to co-sign, and thank you for sharing. And yes, read Letter from a Birmingham Jail if you haven't already, or if you haven't read it for a while, go back and read. You know what? Do that on Monday. Do that to celebrate Martin Luther King Day. I mean, it's easily findable online. Read Martin Luther King's Letter from a Birmingham Jail. That'll be your homework, and take it to heart. Take it in. Don Quixote, the original Star Wars movie, is going to be re-released next year for its 50th anniversary. The one that doesn't have a boatload of added CGI and where Han fires first. It is supposed to be a newly restored version. I assume you have copies of the original Star Trek TOS episodes and the remastered ones also. I don't have any problem with the remasters. They don't change the stories, fix a few visible mistakes, and just make the picture clearer. What are your thoughts on the remasters? I have no problem with them. I really don't. I don't think they were necessary. I like the original special effects. It doesn't bother me that they're kind of cheap and hokey. Look, I mean, the show is what it is. I feel the same way about the special effects in the original Star Trek as I did about the hang on. Okay, I'm still here. Sorry. My My web browser just completely crashed on me. But I'm still live. You can all still see me and hear me, right? Anyway, um, but no, sorry, I'm a little discombobulated here. No, the special effects changes to the remastered the remastered Star Trek episodes. I don't think it's really comparable to the special editions of Star Wars. But like I was saying, there was nothing wrong with the original special effects of Star Wars, and there was nothing wrong with the original special effects in Star Trek the original series either. They were fine. But I do think, for the reasons you point out, that the remastered Star Trek special effects are more acceptable and are better than the Star Wars special editions, because they basically just redid the special effects that were already there. They didn't really add anything. They didn't change anything. They just did spiffier versions of the special effects that were already there. So I think it's fine. I don't think it's necessary, but it doesn't bother me. It's fine. And here's another one from Don Quixote. While I've been a Star Trek fan since my teens, I also liked the series UFO and Space 1999. Have you ever seen either of those? I've never seen UFO. I've seen precious little of Space 1999. I might have watched a few episodes of it on the Sci-Fi Channel once upon a time, when the Sci-Fi Channel was a channel that showed science fiction shows. um, but other than that, no, I haven't seen any UFO, and I haven't seen very much at all of Space 1999. The Anxious Advocate. So, quick question: do you think patronizing businesses you don't agree with due to corporate choices is betraying the causes you believe in? Do you think it's okay even if it's free but helps their metrics? A certain food place that's very popular sent random free coupons this month, like literally just walk in and spend $0. I'm torn on using them or not, since I haven't been there in a decade plus since their views came out. Plus, I can't see Academy for a week, so no spoilers, but rate the show 1 to 10. Okay. I feel like I give the same answer whenever this kind of question comes up, but it really depends. It depends on you, and it depends on the specific thing that you are deciding whether or not to use. You know, my general rule is, if the associated offense is offensive enough, is egregious enough, and if it's something that I can, sort of cut out of my life with little to no hardship, then I do that. If it gets more complicated than that, then the decision becomes more complicated. But I try to give myself grace about that, and I try to give other people grace about it as well. If somebody insists on supporting a shitty business or a shitty product or shitty people for, selfish reasons or shallow reasons, I do tend to judge that kind of harshly. But if someone is clearly grappling with it and they're not sure what to do, and they're making a decision of, well, I'm not, maybe this isn't the right thing, but I'm going to go to this store even though I'm troubled. Like, I'm sympathetic to that, because it's not always easy. It's complicated. So I would, yeah, it really, this isn't a helpful answer, but it really depends. It really depends. And as for how would I rate Academy from 1 to 10? So if I'm rating just the first 2 episodes that are the only 2 that have been publicly released so far, I would go 8 out of 10. If I'm rating it based on all of the episodes I have seen so far, because I did get a chance to see a few of the episodes, I've watched up to episode 5, and if I'm rating all 5 episodes that I've seen 1 to 10, based on that, I would give the show 7 out of 10. So, but pretty high so far either way. I've mostly really enjoyed it. Yeah, so we'll go for the shows that have already been that everybody can watch. I would say I would give it an 8 out of 10. Dana, hi Steve. This week took another legend from us, Claudette Colvin. She was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus on March 2nd, 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks. Colvin was only 15, a student at the time. her involvement has often been overshadowed by others. It illustrates the importance of long term planning and action. Parks was not just tired, she was chosen as a respected, sympathetic figure whose arrest would seem truly unreasonable. When did you first learn about Colvin? Well, I can't tell you specifically, but I know it was, as with most people, it was a long time after I learned about Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, even in my rural, vastly majority white Western Maryland school district, we learned about Rosa Parks in elementary school. I mean, I've known the name Rosa Parks since I was a little kid. I did not learn about Claudette Colvin until I was at least in my 20s, if not even later. Like it's far more recent than I knew Rosa Parks. Um, and yes, you are right. It does illustrate the importance of long-term planning and organization. The Rosa Parks and her, refusing to get up was done intentionally to create a case that would hopefully go to the Supreme Court to challenge segregation. Like that was the intent. It was planned. Um, and one of the reasons why Claudette Colvin was not chosen for that role, one of the reasons why they chose Rosa Parks instead of Claudette was not just because Claudette Colvin was so young, but also by the time Claudette Colvin's case went to court, Claudette Colvin was pregnant out of wedlock, and the um, the sort of organizers in charge of this whole initiative decided to sort of keep Claudette back away from the spotlight, not necessarily because they judged her poorly, although I mean there may have been some of that as well, but mostly because they knew that the white press and the white establishment that they were challenging would absolutely tear this girl apart if they found out that she was carrying a child out of wedlock and she was the one that the civil rights movement is holding up as their moral standard bearer. Like, my God, look at what this is. Like she would have been absolutely dogpiled by not only racists but people who were looking for anything they could grab onto to attack her and discredit her and delegitimize her. So that's part of the reason why she wasn't a more prominent figure uh, as well. They wanted someone like Rosa Parks who would be more quote unquote respectable. And last question, Captain. Hey D, hi Steve. I just want you to know I was on a Teams call which included an overseas colleague who is German but has lived in Wales for years. And it struck me that his accent sounds exactly like Hans's. I'm having difficulty taking him seriously now. That's it. Oh, bravo on your fantastic pun on the title of your recent MacGyver vid. Thanks for all you do. Don't stop, be Steven. Hold on to that feline. Streak lights, peepers, whoa. And then there he is. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so German by way of Wales. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought of Hans in those terms before. Okay, so it is almost time for a stuffy video, but before I do that, I am going to do the ceremonial resetting of the live chat viewer because it has crashed as it always does. and and while I am fixing it, I will let everybody know that I am about to show you a brand new Stuffy and Friends short that will go live on its own as a standalone YouTube short on this channel tomorrow. But because you have the good taste to be watching this live stream right now, I am going to show it to you before anybody else gets to see it, and then we can all enjoy it together. So please enjoy this brand new Stuffy and Friends short.
When did you realize things had changed?
It was the first Halloween where there was no laughter. Before that, the one most dependable thing was Halloween, and knowing that it would be fun and creative and hilarious, laughs that were so hard and loud and surprising that I remembered them for days afterward. So when Halloween came and went with no laughs, I knew then that if it wasn't over already, it soon would be. What about you? When did you realize The Simpsons was going downhill?
I'm not here to talk, I'm here to listen.
Oi, what the hell is this? A reenactment of a dangerous method? If so, let me piss off before the spanking starts.
You've actually seen that movie?
The other dog, the grim one with the funny accent, has always badgered me to watch it. I finally gave in the other day and found it surprisingly not bad.
What was your favorite part?
The spanking.
Makes sense. Hey, since you're here, do you want to have a go?
You mean you're playing at being in therapy? For fun?
Not for fun. That would be an offensive belittling of professional mental health counseling. It's so that when my dad asks if I'm seeing a therapist, I can say yes without it technically being a lie, or having to pay financially debilitating therapy bills.
My rates are very reasonable.
And what about you? Why are you playing along with this?
I've often asked myself that. I worry sometimes that I'm too weak-willed, that I'm too much of an enabler.
All right, it's my turn to be the therapist. Come on, Jack.
Before we begin,
Should I be here? Therapy is supposed to be confidential.
Jack, you're a pyromaniac, correct?
Well, that's what we all presume, but I've never been diagnosed.
Anything else? Depression? Thoughts of taking your own life?
Aye, depression comes and goes, but I self-medicate with alcohol, so it's no problem. And I only ever attempted to off myself that one time when I was trying to get out of listening to Rush.
Okay, that all sounds good. As far as the pyromania, have you considered seeking a formal diagnosis?
It's on my to-do list.
Maybe you need to move that from your to-do list to your today list. You like that? I got that from a commercial for hepatitis C medication.
You're really good at this.
Are you enabling me again?
Yes.
Thank you so much for doing that, by the way.
Good old Stuffy. Where would I be without his without his very troubling to him enabling of me? Hi, geek. I hope you're not going to get fired for being here. Okay. Let me go to the chat. I saw a couple of people talking about Starfleet Academy, but first, John Burns dropped in a super chat. Thank you very much. Says SA works for South Africa, right? Saudi Arabia. Well, those are two excellent reasons why we shouldn't use it for Starfleet Academy. Then we're just adding another one. It would be confusing. Let's see here. Oh, Kara says about Chain of Command being a court episode. It might not be a court episode, but Picard is on trial for his life. I guess you can look at it that way, sure. Sentai Ranger Donnie says, as a fan of nearly all generations of Star Trek, I must be honest, overall, the first two episodes of Starfleet Academy were somewhere between underwhelming and okay. However, there are a few aspects of SFA I love, including Jeff Russo's score and Robert Picardo's return as the holographic doctor. I'll give next week's show a fair chance. Well, I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy it more than you did these episodes. And if you don't like it, it's fine. I mean, if just because there are people that will reflexively hate it for completely illegitimate reasons because they're assholes and racists and reactionaries, that doesn't mean you as a reasonable person have to like it. Like, you can still be underwhelmed by it because you watched it and it just wasn't your cup of tea or it didn't work for you. Like, that's completely fine. But yeah, I'm glad that there were parts of it that you liked, and I'm glad that you're going to keep with it, and hopefully you'll enjoy more as it goes on. But if you don't, that's okay. Oh, Kara, is this the Flanders werewolf one? That was one that was kind of underwhelming. I remember not really digging the one where the last one, maybe this is even the same one. The one where the last one was the comic book guy, the superhero one, where comic book guy is the supervillain, a flex dude and clobber girl, and it ends with Lucy Lawless flying them to safety. It's just not funny. Like, it's just not. I can't remember if that was the one that I watched, and I didn't. There was one Simpsons episode or Simpsons Halloween episode where, like, it just didn't make me laugh at all. Like, I don't think I laughed one time, and that was the one that I'm kind of referencing in that skit, where it's like the Simpsons Halloween episode had been can't miss every year. It was just killer every year. And then all of a sudden there was one where I just didn't laugh at all. And it was kind of like, oh shit, here we go. This is it. The cynical optimist. Hey, Steve, I asked about The Expanse last stream. Glad you liked it. Would you consider doing a retrospective review of the series? P.S. I'm reading them now and highly recommend the books. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I watched the show. I might have to watch the show again to see if there's anything in there that I would want to make a video about. Like, I wouldn't want to just do like, let's talk about what happened in The Expanse. Like, I'd want to have an angle, like a thesis, and I might have to go back and watch it again to see if there's anything in there that I can do something with. 255 AD said, let's see, there were a couple here. 255D said, would you agree in isolation preventing a fascist party from running is good, but you wouldn't trust any person or system with the power to make? Yes, I think that's a fair way to put it. Yes, that's a fair way to put it. You wouldn't trust any person or system with the power to make that call. Person, definitely. Again, system, if there's a legal basis for it, I mean, look, and if someone can craft a piece of legislation that argues in an articulate and constitutionally defensible way that because of the nature of fascist parties and fascist beliefs that it is to the benefit of democracy that anyone who identifies themselves or can be fairly identified as a fascist should not be allowed to seek elected office. Like, if you can make the case and make that stick, I'm completely fine with that. I just don't like the idea of one person saying these people aren't allowed to hold elected office anymore. Like, that in itself seems kind of fascist. Philip Kehoe with a super chat. Steve, I'm in the process of getting a new car and I'm going electric. Would you choose electric for your next vehicle? I am planning on getting a new vehicle this year. It's probably not going to be electric, but I don't have any problem with electric vehicles. If I knew that I was only going to use it to drive relatively locally, I might look into getting an electric vehicle. Yeah, but because I anticipate driving longer distances and I would want something with more range and that would be easier to refuel along the way, I'm probably not going to be getting an electric one. But if depending on the circumstances and the use I was getting it for, I would absolutely consider getting an electric vehicle for sure. Good, Geek. I'm glad to hear that. Geek says, I won't be fired. I'm on the break room PC. Okay. Just watch your ass. Cast Iron Chaos says, as we know that POS Scott Adams croaked, he wrote funny episodes of A Mild-Mannered Geek and His Sarcastic Dog Companion. Are you trying to curse me? Are you trying to curse me? Steve Schmeling, you've gotten into Star Trek All in the Family theme music now. Oh, and by the way, the one you wrote for in the comments for that video was great, was really good, and this one is good too. Big plot hole in Star Trek 2. Chekhov was in season 2. Khan then should have met Sulu. Those were the days. That's great. Write as many of those as you want, my friend. They're fucking golden. No, Dana, you not liking The Lighthouse is okay. It's okay to have bad taste. It's okay to be incapable of recognizing a great fucking movie when you see one. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It means you just don't like good shit. But it's not a character judgment. Oh, Sentai Ranger Don. Oh my God, they're so much better than the Section 31 movie. Yeah. Oh my God, it's not even close. 255 AD, this is a tough one for me. Is it okay to still be excited about the US's upcoming return to the moon, or at this point would that be like celebrating Nazi Germany space program? I mean, I feel like it's kind of been ruined. Like if somebody reacts to it with, getting a little tear in their eye just because of the sheer, just the beauty of seeing human beings fly to the moon again, just the monumental accomplishment of that. I'm not going to get mad at anybody, but it has been kind of ruined. Like the idea that it's going to happen, or that it in all probability will happen or could happen during this current administration. It definitely takes the shine off of it for me. And that sucks because I'm a huge space nerd and I'm a huge fan of, human space flight, and fuck, it sucks. Let me see here. Super chat from Harry Behemoth. Thank you, my friend. Ever looked into or approached to join Nebula? Never been approached. Never been approached. And I think that's like an invite only deal, right? Like you can't just sign up for that and say, I want to do Nebula. Like I think you have to be sort of invited in. I've never spoken to anybody about that. Depending on what all would be involved, I would certainly consider it. And I mean, a lot of the people that I know who are on Nebula, I mean, they do really great work and they're really good people. I mean, Christ, Jesse Gender's on there, and Abigail from Philosophy Tube is on there. Like there's a lot of really great YouTubers that post stuff on Nebula. Cast Iron Chaos says the guy who despises Tolkien. The guy who rightly despises Tolkien is a grossly overrated writer whose fans and nerds devoted to his work have ruined popular culture. That's overstating it a bit, but it has gotten completely out of hand. I will say, though, my favorite part of the end of Stranger Things was that it ended with a bunch of D&D geeks crying. That made me happy. I was like, it was worth it for that. It was worth it to see these fucking D&D nerds crying around this table. That made it all worthwhile. My man Steve, he's out there living his life, being a coach, thinking about buying a house. He's out there, he's living the dream. And these little fucking D&D nerds are still in their fucking basement around their fucking D&D game board, and they're crying their little D&D nerd eyes out. And I'm like, good. A happy ending. Good. Oh yeah, Dan. Yeah, there you go. And Dan Olson is not only, I think, a much bigger deal on YouTube than I am, but just a much better YouTuber than I am. So if Dan hasn't gotten the key to the executive washroom yet, I'm not holding my breath. 2-5 AD says, I mean, the first man-made object to reach space was a V2. You think it's right that modern Germans don't take any pride in that? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't take I mean, look, I'm conflicted about the very, very important role that Werner von Braun played in the development of our space program because of his history with the Nazis, and that at least is a little complicated, but I mean, and it doesn't mean that I take, I can't say that I take no pride in the accomplishments of the American. Obviously, I take a great deal of pride in it, and I love it. But I acknowledge that there's some issues there. There's some complexity that needs to be reckoned with. But yeah, the people in Germany not going out of their way to boast about the V2 rocket reaching space. Like, I completely get that. That's totally understandable. Thank you, John. Yes, you can sign up I have a membership as a viewer as well. I watch Nebula. I'm a member. They just don't let me post videos and make money from it. Blade Winter, Stevens and Jock. I mean, the thing, like, I'm so not, but I have nothing but, I have just pure white hot hatred in my heart for D&D nerds. I want nothing but pain for them. I want nothing but grief and pain and heartbreak for them. And I want them to stop like writing TV shows and movies like fucking D&D campaigns, because it's not the same thing, you fucking nerds. Anyway, Gedrin, well, yeah, I mean, Jesse's videos that I've been in that are on Nebula, like that's, but I mean, I don't see nothing off of that. You know what I'm saying? I don't see, where's my fucking Nebula money? I don't see nothing. Yeah, I mean, I may appear in videos that are on it, but my videos aren't on it. And again, I mean, I'm not, this isn't like a goal of mine. This isn't something that I'm salty about or anything. I'm not like, sitting in the dark with my fists clenched going, boy, aren't I on Nebula? Like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm in the dark with my fists clenched going, fucking D&D nerds, these motherfuckers. That's what I'm doing in real life. Cast Iron Chaos with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Kindly comment on or compare the 1970s Scooby-Doo meets Batman to the 2010 Scooby-Doo meets Batman. You know what? I remember the one from the 70s somewhat fondly because I saw it as a kid. I've never watched the new one, so I can't comment on it. I haven't seen the 2010s one. So sorry. I was never, to be honest, and this may be a hot take or an unpopular opinion, I've never been the biggest Scooby-Doo fan. It's just never really, I mean, I've watched it and I don't like, I don't not like it. I don't hate it, but it's never really been something that I've been, drawn to. Cast Iron Chaos says, I sent that super chat as a response to your derision of D&D nerds. I mean, if you want to keep sending me money in response to my derision of D&D nerds, that's completely fine. John Stewart says, when a character like Joker or Murdoch seemingly dies and comes back later, does it matter if the return is explained or not, or just if the story is good? Mostly just if the story is good, especially like with Murdoch and MacGyver, that doesn't matter. MacGyver's MacGyver. MacGyver's not a show that you should be taking all that seriously. So, I mean, like, Murdoch's deaths get more and more ridiculous and more like there's no way he survived falling off that mountain, right? I did a video about that one, the Widowmaker. Like, he falls off a mountain. He's dead. He's fucking dead. But he's back. Like later that season or the next season, he's back and he's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And same thing with the Joker. No, I mean, especially once you've established that, like, that's a thing about their character. Like, it seems like just you're absolutely positive he's dead, but here he is. Like, no, that's fine. In fact, it's usually, as long as the story is good, as long as you make it worthwhile bringing them back, it's usually better just not to even try to explain it. Just don't even explain it. How's he still alive? I don't know. Make it up. It doesn't matter. Ruben's mom, thank you very much for the super chat. Oh, actually, let me get Harry Behemoth. Harry Behemoth says, if joined as channel member, unlimited characters? No. No. But thank you very much for the super chat. Ruben's mom says, would you ever do a retro review comedy list featuring DS9's Little Green Men? Keep up the good work. I love your channel. That's a good idea. I don't have a comedy episode batch planned, but now that you mention it, that's a really good theme. I might go through and put one together. thank you for that suggestion. No, that's a really good idea. Kane 20C says, Steve is just jealous about not understanding the basic arithmetic required for D&D. Look, I do struggle with basic arithmetic, but it has nothing to do with my disdain for D&D. 255 AD says, should I not have phrased my question like it's me on high deciding? Like, I think in my head, I was imagining it just being the case rather than something I'd have to impose. Well, it's not. I mean, the thing is, it's not you as an individual. It would be anybody. It would be anybody. I mean, like I said, if fascists no longer being able to hold elected office came to be the case in a way that did not require someone else imposing their own form of dictatorship to accomplish it, I'm not against the idea of it. I don't want to, throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Cast Iron Cast. I like this philosophy. I blew a whole lot of cash on D&D stuff. Might as well waste some money on a super chat. Yeah, just to balance it out. Just to balance it out. Stephen G. Clenard with a super chat says, Shives can't handle whatever that means. THAC0. I have no idea what that means. Gedrin says Tolkien was too fond of lore. You think? 255 AD says, why is the CG in Starfleet Academy so bad? Those humpbacks looked like a PS2 cutscene. I honestly didn't notice. I didn't notice. And if I did notice, I wouldn't have cared because I was more interested in the characters in the story. I don't give a shit. I will say, I thought the special effects that I saw were fine. I mean, I don't really, nothing jumped out at me like the whales apparently did to you. Like, nothing jumped out at me as, oh shit, that looks bad. I mean, nothing in the special effects jumped out at me as looking like particularly fantastic either. It just seemed fine. It was what it was. It was what it needed to be. Matlock says, what's the lore behind the D&D hate? I think TTRPGs in general can save lives and build friendships. Why the disdain? Watched lots of your content, hadn't come across this. There's no lore. I remember being at a sleepover for a friend's birthday in middle school, I think. And a smaller subsection of the group kind of broke off and went into the kitchen and were playing D&D or something, D&D or some other role-playing game. I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, but it was D&D-like activity. And I went into the kitchen to get something to drink or whatever. And one of them said, hey, Steve, you want to play? And I said, what are you playing? And they said, whatever it was, D&D or whatever. And I watched them for like 10 seconds. And I thought, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This looks like the dumbest, most boring thing I've ever seen. And I said sort of thanks, but no thanks, and walked out. And nothing I have ever seen or heard or learned about role-playing games since then has ever changed that opinion. It seems to me like the biggest, most boring waste of fucking time I can imagine. That I'm glad that other people enjoy it. I mean, in all seriousness, like I talk shit about it for fun. And in all seriousness, I don't begrudge it to people. I do kind of resent that people seem to think that because they came up with a really good D&D campaign, that means that they can write, fiction and TV shows and movies. And I think it's a completely different skill set. And I don't think they transfer very well. But in general, I don't begrudge people. Like, it's a hobby that other people enjoy that I don't enjoy. That's fine. But for me personally, it seems like the most boring, stupid waste of time I can imagine. And I cannot fathom the appeal of it. But Other people enjoy it, and I think that's and in all sincerity, I think that's fine, despite my despite my totally good-natured ribbing. I think it's fine. It's pronounced Thaco. Whatever the fuck. Is it a fucking gamer thing, Dana? Because I don't fucking care. I'd like to set it all on fire, to be honest. I'd like to just pile up all the fucking You know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. Here's something that I do. That there was a I think it was on my Renee Good video. I made this video about the Renee Good shooting. Very serious topic, and I was talking about very serious stuff in it, and someone left a comment on it where in a way that they meant to be supportive of my position, but nonetheless, they quoted in like a huge block of text. They quoted from a fucking D&D manual, and I deleted the comment and banned them. Because what the fuck are you doing? Pull your fucking head out of your ass. First of all, why are you quoting from a fucking D&D manual like it's holy scripture anyway? A. And B, why are you doing it in the context of a video talking about federal agents murdering someone? Like, it's just the lack of awareness. It's like, no, don't fucking do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? So no, I have that kind of thing. I have no room for in my life. Like, please don't fucking quote D&D shit to me like holy scripture and expect me to react with anything but a massive eye roll and wanting to get away from you as quickly as possible. Like, don't fucking do that. But in general, and don't do it like fucking talking or stupid fucking high fantasy shit. Like, don't just talk amongst yourselves about that shit. Don't bother me with that. I don't fucking care. I'm not impressed by it. I don't like it. If anything, when I'm forced to deal with it, I end up resenting the fact that I have to deal with it because I think it's so stupid and I think it sucks. And I do resent the amount of cultural space that it takes up. But just, go over there and enjoy it. Go over there and enjoy it. Don't bother me with it. Few more super chats. Let's see. Pondering Politics. Hello there, my friend. 1 year in, has Trump term 2 been better than, worse than, or exactly what you expected? Worse than. I think I can say that pretty comfortably. And as I think you probably know, I was expecting it to be pretty fucking bad. I would say worse than. Yeah, I would say worse than. And here's one from Harry Behemoth once again. How about a socialist dictatorship? Take your free healthcare and groceries, you fuck. Feel the power of my boot heel as I provide shelter. I don't want a dictatorship of any kind. I believe benevolent dictatorship is a contradiction in terms. I don't believe such a thing is possible. So no, I don't want a socialist dictatorship either. God, Stephen G. Clenard, if there is something I regret from high school, it's that I never actually got to shove a nerd into a locker. I wish that I had done that. I really wish that I had done that. I was not a jock. I was not big enough or popular. Like, I never got shoved into lockers. Like, I escaped that fate myself. But I was never like a big enough of a deal, either physically or socially, to be able to do that. But man, I wish I had been. I really wish I had shoved some fucking nerds into lockers. I think that really would have made me feel good and would have helped my, my self-esteem and my self-image, going forward and maturing as a young man. I think it would have really been good for me. But, we can't sit around like moaning about our missed opportunities, Kino 4119 super chat. Thank you very much. Steve hates fantasy. Noted. I mean, high fantasy. Like the fucking Tolkien shit. That's what I really hate. I mean, depending on how broadly you define it, superheroes are fantasy. Science fiction is fantasy, there are types of fantasy that I enjoy very much, but the fucking shit with hobbits and orcs and shit, like, miss me with all of that. Fucking puts me to sleep. Jesus Christ. Sinister Intelligence says, what will you do when Trump finally dies? I will be very happy. I will be very happy. I mean, I don't know if I'll do anything to celebrate. I'll laugh. I'll cry tears of joy. You know, maybe I'll fly my American flag. I don't know. I'll do something. And then Kina with another super chat. Thank you very much. Says, our re-lockers. Steve is a monster. Noted. Lots of lore today. I'm glad we're learning about each other. I think it's important. Let me see here. Oh, Zoxion says, how do you feel about improv games? I'm fine in general with improv. Improv with dice, I would rather walk in front of a train. See, so here's the thing about RPGs that I don't like, that I don't understand, and that I think ruins whatever possible fun I might theoretically have in them. I love improv. I love storytelling. I love, sitting around with friends and spending time. I even love playing games, depending on the game. But I do not understand how improv and storytelling and theater and all of the elements of role-playing games that people say I would enjoy, I don't understand how any of that is remotely improved by the introduction of fucking dice or like statistics. Writing a character. I would rather die. I would rather die than write a character sheet. I would just give up. I would just give up on life if I ever had to write a fucking character. Like, what the fuck? Let me mathematically express the traits of this character I invented. I would drown myself in my own toilet. That's how appealing that seems to me. So it's like, let's take storytelling and improvisation and let's gamify it, and let's introduce, statistics and record keeping and dice throwing. That'll make it better. I know people enjoy it. Let people have their fun. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal of it. I don't get it. Well, yes, of course, Dana, you knew what I would say because I've said these exact same things to you. John Stewart says, any plans for a Starfleet Jobs video about the holograms that got sent to the mines? No. It's possible I might do one in the future that touches on a similar theme to that, but I try to avoid direct references to actual like canonical Star Trek stuff in those. I will create a parallel scenario and refer to that if I want to comment on something like from an actual Star Trek show. I will, or I think in the first one in Starfleet Lawyer, I refer to something that happens on the Enterprise D during TNG, but I refer to it very, very indirectly. So like, people who watch the video will know what I'm talking about, but I hint at it. I don't say, on the Enterprise D when Mr. Data was put on trial by Bruce Maddox, blah, 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 blah. I don't do that. So I would never explicitly reference that. But I might use that as the basis for some other point, some similar point I want to make. And I would do something like that, but I wouldn't make an actual a direct reference. Cynical Optimist, exactly. Playing D&D seems like homework with extra steps. That is exactly it. That is exactly it. Hey, kids, want to have fun making up stories and telling them with your friends and playing characters? How would you like to make it feel like fucking school, too? Doesn't that sound like fun? Stephen G. Clenard says, Shives stepped on a D4 and still hasn't gotten over it. I'm assuming that's a kind of dice, right? That's a kind of dice. A D4. Not in my house. Not in this house. I would be the dad who, the anti-drug commercial that I always reference, that I referenced in the latest MacGyver video, where the dad like comes into the kid's room with the cigar box full of drug shit, and he's like, who taught you how to do this stuff? In my version, in my life, it would be like a bunch of fucking dice and D&D shit. And I'd be holding it out and like my red faced, and I'd be like, "Who taught you how to do this stuff?" And I would be safe because I would know goddamn well they didn't learn it from me. And if he says I learned it from mom, divorce, getting out of there. And I would say, and I would tell the judge that. The judge would say, "Why do you want to dissolve the marriage, Mr. Shives?" And I'd say, "She's a fucking D&D player, and she taught it to our kid behind my back." And the judge would say, "Case dismissed, marriage dissolved." Um, 255 AD says, "Do you prefer direct or representative democracy?" I prefer representative just because I still don't think direct democracy is all that practical. So I honestly, most of the problems I see with representative democracy would not really be improved by direct democracy. You know, I mean, I think both systems have the same flaw, which is they rely on the wisdom of the people, you know, and that is something that you're always going to have to deal with. Super chat from Sean Brunzel. That's okay. At least the D&D nerds aren't wrestling fans. Oh, and here's the money. Thank you for the money. Thank you for the money. Oh, that's a good. Oh, you got me there. You got me there. I'm sure there are D&D nerds who are huge wrestling fans. I know there are fucking wrestlers who play D&D. God save us. But nice hit anyway. Nice hit anyway. Stephen G. Glenard says that will be grounds for divorce in all 50 states. Thank you. Thank you. Cara, I would be citing irreconcilable differences. I would just say specifically, she taught the kid D&D when I behind my back. We agreed. We agreed that we wouldn't put our vices on the children. And look at what you have done. Cynical Optimist says, "What do you think about the idea of a Swiss-style executive where no single person holds all the power?" I mean, it seems like a pretty good idea now, don't it? Well, here, I mean, the idea is like theoretically in our government, no one person is supposed to hold all the power either. The problem is if one person does get elected president and there are enough people in the other two branches that are supposed to be checking that power who decide to just go along with him, well then fuck. I mean, that's kind of the situation we're in now. Wolferman Hart says, "Is it acceptable that some people really love the D&D cartoon?" And like, any of it is acceptable as long as you don't bother me with it. Like, it's acceptable for people to like whatever they want. Just don't fucking, as long as I don't have to hear about it. like, watch all the fucking D&D cartoons. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. You go enjoy it. You go enjoy it. Lesbian Ray. Thank you for the super chat. Which DC books are you reading at the moment, if any? I personally like the current Supergirl and Batgirl books. Right now, I'm not regularly reading anything. No, I haven't read comics regularly for a while. Let me see here. All clever names are gone, says Quick, we need a D&D wrestler heel. You know, there was a wrestler in AEW, which I no longer watch, several years ago, who had kind of a D&D inspired gimmick. His name was, what was his fucking name? I'm going to have to look it up. Brandon Cutler. Brandon Cutler was his name. And he came out in like a D&D inspired costume, like kind of a, I don't know what the fuck it was supposed to be. It was some D&D shit. And he actually had a gigantic 20-sided dice that he would like roll when he came out as part of his entrance. It was the dumbest thing I ever saw. Because like, what does it even mean? What in the context of being a wrestler coming out and rolling a gigantic 20-sided die, like what does it even mean? But anyway, sometimes he was a heel, sometimes he was a babyface. He went back and forth, and he never really amounted to anything. He was, he was mostly like a lower card wrestler. But yeah, so he did kind of a D&D thing, and he disappeared into obscurity as he deserved to. Kino says, "Did you stop watching AEW because of the D&D guy?" No, I didn't. Steven Z. Kennard with a super chat says, "The problem isn't democracy, it's voter and non-voters." That's absolutely right. No, Matlock, it wasn't a big fuzzy D20. It was like a plastic. It was like it looked like like a real one, but it was huge. It was like the size of a basketball or a volleyball or something. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it wasn't fuzzy. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I only saw him do it a few times because guess what? He wasn't on TV all that much. I think he was on the YouTube show. They used to do a weekly YouTube show. He was on that a lot, but I didn't watch that very much. But he was mostly on that. But he was occasionally he would make it onto the actual TV show. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like a plastic. It was like a plastic die, not a fuzzy one. Shitster says, "Looking forward to your next helpline video." Yeah, I do want to do another one of those. I thought about maybe the next one will be like related to ice or something, but I need to think about it and come up with some stuff for it. But I would like to do another one of those. Wolfram Hart, I know about the He-Man movie. Yeah, I know. They finally are making the live action He-Man movie. Yep, we'll see. Philip, yes, he is. Brandon Cutler is an executive producer of content. Yeah, but he's really good friends with Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, who are wrestlers in the company and also executives. They're among the founding executive vice presidents of the company. So that's how he got his job. His buddies gave him a job, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with hooking up your friends. But yeah, and someone asked, did I stop watching AEW because of the D&D guy? No, but part of the reason I stopped watching was the Young Bucks. They're not the whole reason, but they're a big part of the reason because I'm not a fan of theirs. But yeah, he got his job because he's friends with them. So good for him. And Dana said, "Oh, good night, Dana." Dana says, "When you said huge, I thought you meant like 3-foot diameter." It was the size of Pee Wee Herman's fucking foil ball, okay? It filled the entire room. Harry Behemoth had a super chat I haven't acknowledged yet. "I feel like Trumpers have proven they can't handle and don't deserve freedom. Someone needs to be in charge of these people." Well, I mean, the thing is, the people who should be in charge of them is the rest of us. And we have taken we have shirked our responsibilities. That's one of the reasons why we're in this mess. And then here's another one from Kino. Thank you very much. Says, "So I'm designing Eternal Damnations. I take being forced to play D&D as high on your list." There are some clues here. Being forced to play D&D would be really high on my list. So would being recognized by people, unexpectedly running into people I know in public. I did a video about that a while back, and it was like a humorous video, but there's a core of truth to it. That is one of my least favorite things in the world. When I'm like in the grocery store or something, and I unexpectedly encounter someone I know, I hate that. I hate that so much. Like I would, what I hope for is that I see them first. And if I clock them before they clock me, I will do whatever I will go as far out of my way as I can to avoid running into them. The last thing I want when I'm out in public on an errand, trying to accomplish something, going shopping, doing whatever, the last thing I want is to be forced to stop and have a boring chit-chat conversation with someone that I know because they recognize me and they're like, "Steve," and they think like they have to talk to me. Please don't ever fucking talk to me if you see me in public. Don't ever leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, Steve Schmeling. Okay, we're over the 8 o'clock hour. Let me. Oh, by the way, Hair Behemoth says Steve should play a charity D&D game. That will never, ever, 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 ever happen. Anyway, I'll answer Steve Schmeling's question, and then I'll do my wrap up because it's time to end the show. And then if anybody has any final questions, I'll get to them after I do my end of show spiel. But anyway, I wanted to. Steve Schmeling said, "Wrestling question: what are your thoughts on the Shockmaster?" Hilarious. What's really great about the Shock, and for anybody who doesn't know what the Shockmaster is this really infamous uh, blooper, basically, or a botch, I guess, as we would call it in wrestling, although it didn't happen in a wrestling match. There's a guy, his real name is Fred Ottman. He had wrestled in the WWF at the time as Tugboat and then later as Typhoon. He's like, a big guy. And he had been a wrestler for a while in the WWF, and then he jumped to WCW. And his gimmick in WCW was going to be the Shockmaster. And I mean, it was the Shockmaster for a little while, but his big introduction was he was going to be the last team member for, I think it was for a War Games match. And he was going to be on the babyface team, and he was like the surprise entrant. And they had a big segment where Sting, the captain of the babyface team, was like, "It's time for our partner is going to shock the world because he is the Shock Master." And it was a bad introduction anyway, because he said the name Shockmaster like it would mean anything to anybody. Nobody's heard of him. Like, it's a brand new gimmick. It's a brand new wrestler. Nobody's heard of the Shockmaster. Nobody knows who the Shockmaster is. So when Sting says, "Look at our partner, it's the Shockmaster," nobody reacted anyway because there's nothing to react to. And then he's supposed to crash through the wall, right? Like the Kool-Aid Man. He's supposed to crash through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and then he's going to stand there and cut a promo in someone else's voice, because it wasn't going to be his voice. It was going to be Ole Anderson doing the voice on a microphone off camera, and he was going to talk in a really low, scary voice, right? But before any of that could happen, when he crashed through the wall, he tripped and he fell flat on his face. And also, by the way, he was wearing a bedazzled stormtrooper helmet from Star Wars. I swear to God, I'm not making any of this up. This all really happened in 1993, 1994, or something like that. Early 90s WCW. This all really happened. So he falls on his face. His bedazzled stormtrooper helmet falls off. He immediately scrambles to his feet. This is all on live television. He immediately scrambles to his feet, puts his helmet back on, and then they go ahead with the pre-recorded scary voice promo. And it was just, I mean, it's one of the biggest jokes in the entire history of wrestling. Everybody laughs at it, and they should. It was a terrible idea, and it was botched terribly in the presentation. The thing that always makes me smile about it is, even if he had not tripped and fell on his face during his entrance, it still would have been the dumbest thing ever, and there's not a chance in hell it would have ever gotten over or meant anything. Like, even if it had worked exactly as it was designed to, it was so embarrassingly bad that I can't imagine, even in the world of pro wrestling, which is full of just terrible ideas, I can't imagine that anybody thought that it was ever worth doing. Like, it was such a bad idea from top to bottom. And the fact that he tripped when he came through the wall and this fucking bedazzled stormtrooper helmet fell off and he had to hurry up and put it back on. That was just the icing on the cake. Like, it was going to be terrible anyway. That just put it over the top and made it legendarily bad. Yeah, Kino, exactly. Shockmaster sounds like a sex toy. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, now that that's what I think of the Shockmaster. Anyway, so if anybody has even any final questions, go ahead and put them in the chat now. I'll come back to the chat real quick after I do my wrap up bit here. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. Hope there are no hard feelings about my extended, bitter, angry, anti-D&D rants. I really just want everybody to love each other and get along. That's really what I want. And just, don't bother me with the D&D stuff. Just keep that out of my face and we'll be good. Because what I want is for everybody to love each other and get along and accept each other. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. This was a really fun stream. If you are a patron or a member, I especially appreciate your support. And if you would like to become a patron or a member to help me to continue to do this YouTube thing, if this has meant something to you, if you have some value in what I do, you can become a patron by going to patreon.com/Steve Shives and becoming a patron for any amount that you would care to pledge a month. And if you don't want to become a patron for whatever reason, you can click the join button right here on the YouTube channel and become a channel member. Either one of those really helps me out a lot. And one of the benefits that you can take advantage of if you are a patron or a member, or both, if you want to do both, you don't have to and you're not expected to. But if you wanted to do both, that's fine. A few people have. But you can submit questions ahead of time for these Ask Away live streams. Those are the questions that I answer in the first part of the show. And that opportunity is open to anybody who is a patron or a member at any level, from $1 a month on up to however much you feel like giving me a month. Everyone who is a patron or a member can submit a question ahead of time for Ask Away. Just my way of showing that I appreciate you all for your going the extra mile and financially supporting the channel. And I could not do it without you. So patreon.com/Steve Shives, or click the join button to become a member. Also, if you enjoy the YouTube stuff, you might also enjoy the podcasts that I am a part of. They are productions of the Let Me Listen family of podcasts. I am on 2 Let Me Listen podcasts. One is Late Seating, the movie review podcast that I'm on alongside my very best friend in the whole world, Jason Harding, where we review classic films and see if they deserve whatever reputation they have, whether it is good or bad. And our most recent episode is up right now, and it is our review of Suicide Squad. Not the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad. The David Ayer one starring Will Smith. And a bunch of other people who don't deserve to suffer by being cast in that absolutely wretched movie. But you can hear us talk about Suicide Squad and how much we hate it and why we hate it as much as we do on the new episode of Late Seating. And I am also a cast member on the Ensign's Log, which is the Star Trek themed improv with no dice or record keeping involved comedy podcast, where it's myself and the aforementioned brilliant Jason Harding and also our friend Amanda Billings. And the three of us play original characters that we have created that live in the Star Trek universe, but we're off doing our own thing, having our own adventures, while established Star Trek stuff from the actual shows is kind of happening in the background that sometimes we comment on. And it is such a fun show to do. We have such a great time making it. Hopefully, if you listen to it, you have a great time listening to it. If you enjoy Star Trek, if you enjoy funny, silly Star Trek, if you enjoy stuff that makes fun of Star Trek and kind of spoofs and satirizes Star Trek, which is our aim in the Ensign's Log, I think you'll enjoy it. So if you have not done so yet, please check it out. Links to the podcasts are in the video description. Also, let's not forget charitylinks.page. Charitylinks.page is maintained by our friend Some Random Geek. That includes, GoFundMe's and PayPal links and various other crowdfunding resources for friends of ours who need a helping hand, who are in some financial trouble, who need some help getting the bills paid, getting out of debt, paying medical expenses, whatever their need is. You can help them to meet that need by going to charitylinks.page. And if you have a few extra bucks lying around that you would like to put toward a good cause, please consider helping out some of our friends as found in charitylinks.page. I would really appreciate it, and I know they would as well. Now, let's go back to the questions. I'll take a few final questions before we wrap things up. 255 AD says, which was more controversial in this stream? Me questioning representative democracy or you hating on D&D? I'm going to go me hating on D&D, which is part of the problem. Jeff Fear says, hey, Steve, you rule. Saw our man Bashir recently. Funny how selective the holosuite was. We could have gotten Worf in a cocktail dress. Yeah, it's too bad. That the AI just wasn't smart enough, I guess. 25580 also says, I have a neighbor I used to enjoy running into and chatting with because we're both dog people. Then I found out he's a climate change denier. Would that be hell for you? No, I just wouldn't talk to them anymore. And if I kept running into them, I would just, I don't know if I would confront them and say, I don't want to fucking talk to you anymore because you're a climate change denier. But I would withdraw. I would not be friendly with them anymore. Kino asks, how is Suicide Squad a classic movie? Thank you for the super chat, my friend. It's not, but it is culturally relevant. They don't all have to be classic movies, literally like regarded as classics, but they have to be at least 10 years old and be of some cultural relevance. That's basically our criteria. So, I mean, is it a classic movie? No. Is it considered a classic by anybody other than a small number of internet trolls? No, but it is a movie that is memorable, mostly for bad reasons. So, we talked about it. That's true, Stephen. Will Smith did not get jiggy with it on Suicide Squad, and the film suffers immeasurably for it. Simon Moody says, that's made my weekend getting to listen to Steve and Jason go all out on Suicide. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Oh, Harry Behemoth. Now, I wouldn't doubt that at all. Harry Behemoth says Tony Khan books AEW by playing D&D with the Bucks and Danielson, and it shows. That's another reason why I stopped watching. Oh boy. One of the reasons I started watching AEW when it started was because the storytelling in WWE was so fucking awful. Then I watched AEW for a few years, and gradually it got even worse than WWE's had been when I stopped watching. But fortunately, by that time, WWE's had come back around and had gotten kind of good again. And plus, a bunch of my favorite wrestlers were suddenly there again. And I was like, okay, I'll go back to watching this. But yeah. John Stewart says, why do people like Elonia Muskie hold up Star Trek as an example to strive towards the future, but don't do anything in real life to help achieve that goal? Just a Test says, I've done videos on that topic. I have, and I'm doing another one next week. I'm shooting it tomorrow. I'm doing a video about Elon Musk and also Stephen Miller's recent comments about Starfleet Academy. And I will deal with some of that in that video coming up. So hopefully I will scratch that itch in this new video coming up next week. But the answer is because they don't understand Star Trek and they're awful bigoted Nazis. Okay, one last one. This is a super chat from Krish B2200. Thank you for the super chat. Steve, please provide us Americans some hope. It won't last forever. He won't live forever, and this regime will not last forever. This too shall pass. That's the best I can give you right now, but hopefully it's enough to hang on to. And it's enough to fight for, because it's going to be a fight. We have to make it happen. It's not going to happen by itself. But there's always hope. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, because things move in circles. And sometimes that's bad, but when we're on the downside like we are now, that's a very good thing. All right. I believe that'll do it. Thank you all so much for being with me, for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in there despite my repeated broadside attacks against a hobby that I know many of you enjoy. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.